guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I have Becca's Bookopoly round 42. So if you guys are familiar with Becca's Bookopoly at all, this is the TBR game that I play bi-monthly that is based on Monopoly. So every square on this board has a prompt on it. I roll 2 6-sided die and I have to pick a book for every square that I land on. If this is your first time with Bookopoly, I will put a link to January's round up here, which has a full tour of the board and also a recap of the rules. And as well as that, I will put the full Bookopoly playlist in my description box in case you want to binge the entire thing. But for you guys who know what's going on here, let's see how I did in my last Bookopoly round, which was the September Bookopoly-thon. So I don't really think that it's any secret at this point that I miserably failed my Bookopoly-thon TBR. There were 6 books on it in total. We had The Embroidered Book by Kate Hartfield, which was to read a book with a patterned cover. Wild and Wicked Things by Francesca May was a book that was either published or set in or before 1999. Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings was for the prompt summer. Then we had Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRue, which was a book that featured romance. Colorbound by Rebecca Zahabi was a book written in third person, and All of Our Demise by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman was a community shelf card, and the prompt on the card was to read an ARG. So of these 6 books, I actually read 3. I DNF'd one of them, which was Wild and Wicked Things, and I only actually read 4 books in September. It was very slumpy, and I failed. I tried though. 2 of the books that I read were really chunky as well, but it didn't go well. So moving on to my reading plans for November and December. In my October TBR, I expressed that I would like to spend the rest of the year mood reading. I've tried it out a little bit in October. I'm really enjoying reading that way. The way I've been doing it is reading a book that I have to read, like a TBR book. I only had 4 for October, and then mood reading, like picking a book that I want to read. No themed reading vlogs or anything, and I'm having a good time. It feels like way back in my channel before themed reading vlogs were even a thing, where there wasn't this pressure to read like 5 books a week, to have a reading vlog a week that had a point, and I'm enjoying it. So I'm looking to carry that forward until the end of the year. There is at least one themed reading vlog that I would like to get done before the end of the year, and I am bringing you guys a Bookopoly TBR to see the year out. I'm participating in one readathon, which is Clear Your Shit round 3. I will put a link to that in my description box. I participate every year. It runs for the last 2 months of the year, and it is pretty much the only thing that I don't even hold myself accountable. It's the only thing that I participate in at the end of the year, because November and December are my busiest months work-wise as well. So I don't like to put too much pressure on myself outside of trying to get candles out rapid fire. So Clear Your Shit is a really fun readathon with a really fun narrative. I will put Andy's announcement video in my description box. It's created by Andy from Mouse Reads on YouTube and Art from Ink and Plasma on Twitter. It has a really fun narrative. It's like a kind of RPG style thing. It has a very sassy narrator, which is the main reason why I love it. You're also like supposed to complete the prompts in order as well to like fulfill the narrative of the round of the readathon. Although I'm not really going to talk too much about the readathon and what books I'm reading for what prompts in this video, I'm mainly going to focus on the Bookopoly TBR. And I am in such a big fantasy mood at the minute. I feel like I've been wanting to read romance for most of this year, and now I want to get back into my dense, chunky adult fantasies. Can my brain contend with that? Like, can I focus long enough to remember and retain everything I need to when I'm reading adult fantasy? That is still yet to be seen, but I'm definitely looking to squeezing in a lot of adult fantasy throughout the last 2 months, providing that the mood holds, that is. But before we get into the first Bookopoly roll, we're going to pick my Inner Circle Patreon pick for the month. So you guys know the drill by now. If you're one of the wonderful, generous people who's in the Inner Circle tier of my Patreon, you can recommend me a book. It goes into this pot. Every month I pull one out and I have to read it in the couple of months that follows. There is quite a lot of adult epic fantasy in this part, but there's also quite a lot of adult epic fantasy on this TBR, so I'm not sure what I want from this, but let's see what we're gonna get. Okay, so let's go with I'm scared, I'm nervous. Let's go right to the bottom and go with this very tightly folded one. Oh, it's been written on in Sharpie, which means I don't think that it's super recent. Also, get a peek at my Halloween nails. Oh my god. Oh my god. So Miss Ashley either loves me or hates me, that is for sure, because we have picked The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. I mean, you know, like way back at the beginning of the year or earlier in the year when I was saying there's a big book in this jar that I really want to pull. That was Eye of the World, but that was then and this is now. And I know I just said that I wanted to read adult high epic fantasy, but damn, did I want to start a 15-book series today? I'm not sure, but it's happening. So does this affect it might affect my TBR. We'll see as we go through if I can slot this in. I know I can, but do I want to is the question. So thank you Ashley for recommending this. This was a gift from Cody way back when actually, so thank you very much Codacious B for the gift. This is a series that we considered doing for Catch Up Book Club but decided to go for something different, which is a good job now seeing as I pulled it. This has a very vague synopsis on the back. It says like the wheel of time turns, ages come to pass, like everything that goes round comes round again essentially. But this is about a kind of, right, okay, this is from the TV show and it's going to be really bad and not very well constructed, but there is a witch lady who, it's been a while since I've watched season 1 of the TV show as well, so I don't remember any of the terminology, but it's about a witch lady who goes to this village looking for the dragon reborn, who is this like legend that is reborn because remember what goes around comes around, and I think the dragon is prophesied to either remake or destroy the world, and she stumbles across a group of people and doesn't know which one is the dragon. I think I know which one is the dragon from watching the show, and it's the obvious choice as well actually, to be honest, which is a little disappointing, but that is as far as I'm aware what this is about. I've heard that this series is very slow to start off with, but the payoff is good, like it gets good around book 3 or 4, but Jesus, it's like 700-800 pages. I guess I finished The Realm of the Elderling so I can start something else, but that something else was supposed to be the first Law universe in January, but here we are. First book on my end of year TBR. It is already not looking good for me, guys. And on that note, let us get into roll number 1. Okay, so the last time that we played, we ended on fantasy. First roll. That is 5. Which is a sequel. So for roll number 1, we landed on sequel, and I decided that this would be the prompt that I ask my Patreons to vote on. So I gave them 4 options with a theme. The theme was adult fantasy sequels because I'm in the mood for adult fantasy. So the first option was the second book in the Lycanius trilogy, which I cannot remember the name of. I've currently 250 pages into book 1 at the time of film and I haven't even finished it. But then I also gave them Memory of Souls by Jen Lyons, which is the 3rd book in the Chorus of Dragons series, Holy Sister by Mark Lawrence, which is the 3rd book in the Book of the Ancestor trilogy, and Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty, which is the 2nd book in the Daevabad trilogy. And I have not looked at the poll since last night, so it's going to be a surprise for all of us. I will say that when I put all 4 of them up though, my gut told me that the second Lycanius book was gonna win. Oh, okay. Well, the second Lycanius book wasn't even in 2nd place. But the winner of the poll was Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty. I feel like I should have expected this. It's just this series is a couple of years old now, so I didn't realize that people still like loved it. So I gotta say, it's been a couple of years. This was the final book that I decided to put in the poll because it's been a couple of years since I've read City of Brass. But from what I remember, this is about a young woman called Nari who is a healer. She has the ability to heal, but she's also a con artist, so she doesn't actually use her ability. She lies about people being sick, like rich people, and sends them to her friend who's an apothecary. So they spend a ton of money on like medicine that they don't need, and then she gets a cut. And one day when she's conning someone, she accidentally summons a djinn, and she then has to travel to the City of Brass, which is like the djinn city, because I think she starts to question her own heritage and whether she could also be a magical creature. Really enjoyed the first book. Went in a direction I didn't expect it to from the beginning. May have to read a recap of book 1 because it's, like I said, it's been a while. This one is 609 pages, so that is 1,250-ish pages on the TBR already, and we're at roll 1. Roll number 2 is 7. And that is a book that was gifted. Roll number 2 was to read a book that's been gifted. I feel like I'm getting a lot of good prompts for like the end of the year, because what I want to be doing over the next couple of months is making progress in and finishing series, like reading some books I was gifted maybe at the end of last year, clearing up like all of those TBRs I made throughout the year and like finishing them off. And this went nicely into that, especially because the book that I've chosen is War by Laura Thalassa, which is, yeah, just check it, it's book 2 in the 4 Horsemen series. So I now currently currently have a Patreon book club that has just started in October. It's open to all tiers and it's a fantasy romance book club, very similar to Catch Up Book Club that's like epic fantasy. This one's fantasy romance, but we read entire series and I make a spoiler video. So the first book was Pestilence for October, the second book is for War. I think that this synopsis for War is pretty much the same as the synopsis for Pestilence because each book in this series follows one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse as they come to Earth to bring on the end of the world, and I think they all fall in love with human women while they're trying to end the world. I'm guessing that they're going to learn compassion and change their mind about the apocalypse because that's just how romance, paranormal fantasy romance goes sometimes. And this one was a gift from Bobby, so thank you very much, Bobby, for gifting this entire series to me. Bobby's one of my inner circle patrons, so the top tier, and also has a YouTube channel which I will link down below. But Bobby was also like one of my first ever patrons, so I feel like it's fitting that the first series that my first Patreon book club does is one that Bobby gifted to me. Rule number 3 is 5. And that is a fantasy. Role number 3 was a fantasy, and you know, this could be a perfect time to put on The Eye of the World, like into the Bookopoly TBR. But I also would like to do, well, I kind of need to do the last installment or the next installment, because I might do one more of the Goldsboro Science Fiction and Fantasy Fellowship worth my money. We will continue if it turns out to be worth my money. This is kind of like the deciding round. However, by the time I finished it, I think I will have enough books to do another round, so I'll probably do one more and then like tally everything up. But because of that, the book that I've chosen for this is Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Miro. This one will be the first one that I read for that vlog. It's been compared to X-Men. It's about kids with like superpowers. It's set in the 1800s at least in Scotland and London. I don't know if it's anywhere in between as well. And the synopsis of it reminds me of like the Peculiar Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, because it's kind of like that vibe of like kids with superpowers, orphanage, as far as I can tell. I've seen quite a few people reading this, but I cannot remember whether they enjoyed it or not. But I wasn't sure when I got it in the Goldsboro subscription because historical fantasy, but the longer I've had it, the more excited I am to read it. So fingers crossed it's one that I enjoy. And then just while we're talking about thick books, this one's 660 pages. This is like back in the day. I used to do this on a monthly basis, guys. Do you remember when I was like, let's read 10 700-page books in a month? Could not be me now, except it is. Rule number 4 is 6. And that is a book from my 2022 TBR. The next prompt, role number 4, is 2022 TBR, which once again, great prompt for finishing out the end of the year. I went to that video and I selected, there's a book that I really wanted to read, a series I really want to start, and it was on that TBR, and that's The Ally of Law by Brandon Sanderson. So I thought that is a great time to be reading this, because I really want to catch up on the Cosmere, and I'm thinking about rereading the Stormlight Archive, guys, after I've read Second Year of Mistborn. I don't know if I'm doing it yet, but I really just need to I've been wanting to get through this all year and I just haven't. But Eye of the World is also on my 2022 TBR, so I think I'm gonna put this on. I'm gonna aim to read this. If I don't get to it, maybe we'll swap it out for Eye of the World. We're all about kindness these days when it comes to making a TBR. If you watch this and compare it to like one of the early Bookopoly videos, it's like a completely different vibe with my attitude to Bookopoly. But this is the first book in the second part of Mistborn. So Mistborn is going to end up being 3 eras. It's currently 2, with the last book in the second era coming out in November very soon. So I kind of want to catch up, and I need to read Rhythm of War, but I can't read Rhythm of War until I've read this, and then I can't finish this series until I've read Rhythm of War. So it's a whole dilemma that I've been thinking about doing. And the thing is, like, if a Sanderson book is thick, I've already read it. But if it's small, I can read this at any time. So like, I'm just not putting any effort into picking it up. So Mistborn in general has a magic system that utilizes metals. So you can swallow metals and you can manifest that metal into an ability. So I think it's steel and something iron are like pushing and pulling. So like, if you have one of them, you can push on things or off things. And if you have the other one, then you can pull, and each metal has an ability. So the first era of Mistborn is set like 150, 200-ish years, I think, before the start of this one. It could be more than that. And this one is a more Western vibe. So it's like a fantasy Western. And I think in terms of the metal, I think the magic system is utilized in terms of like bullets with the Western theme. That is all I know about it. I haven't looked into the synopsis because I knew I was going to read it, and up until I'd finished the first Era Mistborn I couldn't anyway, in case of spoilers. So this one is small. Oh my, it's smaller than I thought it was. It's 325 pages. So I don't feel too bad about putting this on the TBR, but like I said, I might swap it out for Eye of the World because this is looking intense. I'm glad that this is a 2-month TBR, not just one. And what could possibly be our final roll number 5, is a 7. Oh, it's a chance card. Okay, I have no recollection of what's in here anymore. Let's just do a quick little shuffle. Okay. Oh, not again. All the Birds in the Sky by Charlie Jane Anders. Roll number 5, guys. Roll number 5. If you've been following Bookopoly for as long as it's existed, you will know that this has been a chance card, I think, the entire time I've been doing Bookopoly. And this book has come out as a chance card twice before, and I haven't read it. And up until this year, I had a really good track record for actually completing Bookopoly TBR, so I'm not sure how this has happened. But this is All the Birds in the Sky by Charlie Jane Anders, which is a book that I've been excited to read for approximately 7 years now. Have not read it. I just haven't. Will I read it this time? With the size of that TBR, I'm not sure that I'm gonna, but we'll try. So this is like a sci-fi fantasy, and I believe it's following people who are/were best friends, maybe when they were in college, and they found themselves trying to solve a problem with the world, but they're doing it in very different ways. So one of the characters is relying on science to do it, and like technology, and the other person is relying on witchcraft, and I feel like they can also, yeah, communicate with animals. So we have a witch who can communicate with animals and a mad scientist and inventor of the 2-second time machine. This is reminding me very much of like Vicious by V. Schwab, and also This Is How We Lose the Time War. But if it delivers those vibes, because I gave both of those books 5 stars, I think, then we're going to be on to a winner. I will read this. Somebody make me read this. You know what? I'm actually going to throw in an extra roll to make it 3 per month. So roll number 6 is 7 again, and that one is other. And then, you know, I'm slightly regretting at this point the fact that I decided to do a 6th roll. We'll call it a bonus roll because I didn't have to. I didn't roll a double. This isn't obligatory, but I thought, you know, we'll do 3 per month. We'll round it out. Now that I've seen what 3 per month I'm going to be reading, maybe this was a terrible decision, but I got other. We got other for roll 6, and you know, the older I get, the longer we read books, the less other I have on my shelves, because I've decided that I like reading fantasy, sci-fi and romance, and that's it. So that's fine. So I've been slowly weeding out everything else out of my shelves. The only other thing I have is thrillers, really, a little bit of horror, and I'm not really in the mood for a thriller, but I have wanted to try this book for quite some time, which is Tell Me Everything, The Story of a Private Investigation by Erica Krause. This is true crime. It's a book of the month book, and I thought I really wanted to try this because up until the end of last year, I had a vague interest in true crime, but I never really listened to or watched anything. I now religiously listen to a true crime podcast called Morbid, and I do watch the odd documentary as well, as I've been trying to expand my interest and like my free time and what I enjoy doing outside of reading just a little bit, because it was just everything and I was feeling a little bit burnt out and I wanted to do other things I was interested in, which sue me, I guess. Just kidding. Feeling some type of way today. So I was really interested to try this because I've never read a true crime book. But this is, it's a part memoir and part literary true crime about a landmark sexual assault investigation and the female private investigator who helped crack it open. So sign me up. Does it have mixed media? It doesn't, sadly. I was hoping it'd have a little bit, you know, like newspaper clippings and stuff, but well, we move. So there you have it. That is my end of year TBR. I will still be making a December TBR. This is my last Bookopoly TBR. I will still be making a December TBR that has like whatever we have left from this stacking that I have to read, my next Patreon book club book, and also my next Patreon pick, and anything else I feel that I need to read before the end of the year. Although, to be honest, I feel like this stack is going to see me through. I'm just gonna, out of interest, work out how many pages this is. You know what? I'm actually a massive drama queen and I will take it this time, because this enormous stack of books, if you can believe it, adds up to 3,546 pages. I feel like I've counted this wrong because I can read that. That's like my typical like monthly page count. So I could read this in a month, although I know that's like my typical monthly page count outside of this year where I'm not doing too hot. And it was higher last year. So this is my average page count from like 2020. So maybe we'll do it. I don't know. I'm not convinced because it looks scary. But the page count is making me more confident because that's like 50 pages a day-ish, give or take some pages. But yeah, maybe it's not as dire as I thought it was going to be. Like I said, I am wanting to mood read throughout the last 2 months of the year, so my aim is to kind of read half of this stack in November, and then we'll revisit where I'm up to in December, I guess, probably crying in the corner because I haven't read anything. But down in my comments, please let me know what you guys are reading in November. What's your most anticipated read of November? Also, I just remembered that It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover is on its way to me and I want to read that. Never mind. Also, let me know down in the comments if you read any of these books, what you guys think of them, and also which one you think will be my favorite. Are you excited for me to return to high fantasy? It's been a while. I'm excited. But aside from that, guys, please don't forget to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you wanna. If you head to my description box, you'll find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram, and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish candle website, the Instagram for that, and a 10% off discount code. But that's it from me today, guys. Bye.
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you'll go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.